But they finally got you. They finally let you join. You joined the militia,
Right.
And then, but you still weren't active duty.
Well, the militia in Canada, you can be called up to active duty, but it's not like we chatted a little bit about this on the way here, where you guys have a different system here because yours is much bigger. But also, like the militia in Canada was the military before World War II, basically. Mm-hmm. So regiments were local. It was a part-time thing. You know, it was kind of like it was what do they call it? The citizen soldier. Mm-hmm. And the regular army was just there to kind of give them an enemy force and take care of the machine guns and the howitzers, like the dozen or so that we had at the time. And it wasn't until after World War II that it flipped, because it was, the Cold War started and all that jazz. So, at any time, the regular army now into the 90s could say, you know what, we need 10 reserve soldiers to fill in a platoon here. And if you could volunteer. And I remember when I showed up to my reserve unit, there were sergeants sewing private stripes onto their uniforms because they were called up to the regular army, but you're not a sergeant. You're qualified because to keep guys in the reserves, they promote them faster. Right. But when you go work with the regs, they're not going to call you a sergeant. Right. You've been in as long as Corporal Smith. Private stripes, bitch. Yeah. So, but guys would fight each other to get those slots, though. Yeah. Because there was nothing better, more honorable than to deploy with a Reg Force regiment.
Absolutely.
And go, peacekeeping, but there's still a few gunfights here and there.
I thought this was cool in the book. You talked about this here. You're basically starting boot camp, and you say you just get your hair cut.
Yeah.
You get your head shaved for the first time.
Yeah.
Once the barber was done, I studied myself in his mirror. I barely recognized the young man staring back at me. The eyes were the same, but everything else was different. I wasn't Jody Mitic, layabout loner, high school good for nothing, another floundering adolescent with no ambition and no life plan. That kid was lying under a pile of hair on the floor. Looking back at me was Jody Mitic, soldier in training.
I had goosebumps.
So legit.
Yeah. Well, so I had, at the time, Lethal Weapon 2 was my favorite movie ever. So I had
You were
attempted
your straight Mel Gibson hair.
Oh, dude, it was glorious. Oh, you should have seen it.
Who's next?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Walking around smoking cigarettes and pretending. Yeah. Anyway, just being ridiculous. But it happened to me again recently because I had grown my beard out and I had some long hair, and I did it. I shaved the beard down to nothing. And I went to the barber, who usually does his best to give me a little bit of length, but still make me look professional. And I said, I want you to give me a number 1 all around.
That's what I'm talking about.
And this was just like a month ago. And he did all that. And, your skin feels cold because now the air is on it. And I looked in the mirror, and it was almost the same feeling. I went, oh, there he is. I was like, there's that soldier. Mm-hmm. And I remember the feeling because the guy's name was Marco. He was this Italian guy who cut my hair. And he couldn't believe it because he had fostered this ridiculous mullet for the last 2 years. And now I said, shave it off, because I showed him a picture of a Marine. I said, I want to look like this guy. And when he shaved it, and then it was like I was at the starting line of the biggest race I'd ever going to run in my life. And all I could think about was getting to the end and being successful. And it changed my life, man. It changed my life.
Yeah, you know what? One thing because when I was a kid, I was into, this is going a little bit tangential, but I was into the hardcore scene on the East Coast.
Yes.
Hardcore music. That's what I grew up with. And it was shaved heads, getting after it. But one of my best friend at the time, he's like, listen, we're part of this where there's nowhere to hide. You can't hide behind your bangs. It's all right there. You got to face yourself.
Nice.
And it also strips away any kind of, hair is basically, what's that word? It's basically for show. That's what hair is. It has no purpose other than I look good. So let's just go ahead and remove that. I don't care what I look like. I'm here to win. So, yeah, I guess that might explain my haircut in some way.
But I'm glad you picked that paragraph, because when I did this a month ago was when I started my training for a bodybuilding show I decided to do. And I was having trouble getting into it, you know. I know how to do everything. I know how to eat well. I know how to work out. I've been working out since I was like 16, but it wasn't clicking, you know. And I went to the barber and I did that, and it was like the switch went off.
Boom.
And there it was. It was like, oh, I'm back at that starting line. I'm gonna be 40 in January, so I want a 6-pack before I'm 40. I don't know. Since I got blown up, I haven't had one. It's been 10 years.
Right on.